How to dominate social media as an introvert. Now, if you're watching through YouTube or any other platform, you'll see that I have my son with me here today. And his name is Champion, okay? So if you hear any coos, any ahs, or anything like that, any crying, please know that it's him, okay? Today, I wanted to do this podcast with him just so that we can have this memory, but also because, hey, let's face it, I'm a dad, and sometimes this is the things that dads have to do. So, how to crush social media as an introvert? Well, first I want to start off by telling you guys that me, myself, I'm definitely an introvert. And you may not be able to notice from all the podcasts and all the other things that I do because, well, let's face it, this is something that I'm passionate about. And you'll see this as later one of the points that I'm going to make. But growing up, I was one of five. And in total, there were 7 people in my household. So I really didn't have much of a voice, or never really felt like I had much of a voice. But also something that contributed to that was I had crooked teeth. And people used to tease me for these things. And because of that, I never used to speak. I used to always keep my mouth shut so that way I wasn't going to get embarrassed by other people. So what started to happen was I started to find my passion. I started to find things that I love. And what was really great was I found 2 things that I loved and I was able to combine them together. That being sports and also mental health. And that's why I'm talking to you guys today about how to get your voice heard, but also, as I said, how to dominate social media as an introvert. And I'm just going to jump right into it and go off with one of the first points. The first thing that you have to do is you actually have to ask yourself, who are the people that are meant to serve, and focus on serving that one avatar. Focus on serving that one person. A lot of times when I do a podcast, I think of one person in mind that I may have worked with from the past or even currently in therapy or in coaching, and I make a podcast based on the things that they've gone through. And the reason why is because they are so much alike with other people. Trust me when I say, just because you are going through something doesn't mean that everybody else is not going through it, haven't experienced it in their lifetime or anything like that. So whether it's going through death, suffering with anxiety, suffering with depression, right, being addicted to something like porn or drugs or alcohol, like whatever it is, trust me when I say everybody or a lot of people have experienced it. So when you're putting out content, I want you to ask yourself, who was that one person that I would love to make content for? What is the one answer that I would give them? Another thing that I do is I look at other people's Instagram posts and see what is it that they're going through. A lot of times you'll see this on their birthdays where they post, this year has been really troubling because I've gone through XYZ. So guess what I do? I go and I make content about XYZ, right? Like it only makes sense. But that's not the only time that I do that. A lot of times people just post little things here and there with stories of other people and what they've gone through, or literal stories, right? So on Instagram, there's a feature called stories. Everything doesn't have to be a post, but it's stories. And I'll look to see what people are sharing because that's telling me what is it that they've been drawn to, what has touched their soul. So once I get that content, I actually go out and I produce that in the form of a podcast, email, or whatever the case may be, maybe even a blog, if you will. So this is one great way to easily produce content on social media as an introvert. Just ask yourself, who is that one person? And I would tell you that there may be 5, there may be 10 different avatars that you actually have. So for instance, for me, one of my avatars are entrepreneurs. And typically these are people from 30 to 50 years old who are talented, but they don't have the psychology part locked in, right? So they may be talented, but they suffer from self-sabotage. They may be talented, but they lack confidence. These are the people that I freaking love working with because my job is to pull that obstacle out of their way so they can have a rush of wealth, success, and happiness coming their way. Now, another avatar will be 9-to-5ers, my people that are the doctors, the lawyers, the CEOs, the COOs of companies, right? These are the people that I love working with as well because they're just simply trying to get more improved in a specific niche in their job. So this may be getting better at problem solving, getting better at being assertive, getting better at being a team player. There's so many different things, or maybe even their specific craft. There have been tons of times where I had, let's say, a web developer come to me and say, hey, coach, I need some help because I'm working amongst other web developers and I feel like I'm underperforming. I feel like I'm afraid to put out content or to put out my art and show it to other people because I think they may be judging me or I think they may be better than me. And when I see these guys work, trust me when I say, again, they're talented. They've gone to some of the best schools. They've won awards. They've been accepted and taken jobs in really high places, right? So they have the talent. But something happened and now they're in their own way. And I want to help them to get that out of their own way. Now, even though I say that I've worked with talented people, I've worked with people that are just simply beginning. So sometimes these are people that are just switched jobs or just got into a new business, right? Like, no matter where you are in your business or career, trust me when I say the psychology part is something that I love helping people with. And as you can see, I kind of went off track. I'm sorry. I kind of went off track on this podcast because this is something that I love. So going back to the main point, point number one, pick one avatar and flow with it. Stick with it. Speak and produce content for that one person. And when you do that, it helps you to be focused on one person, which is something us as introverts are really good at versus trying to speak to the masses, if you will. Just pick that one message and go with it. All right, second, and this one I love and I'm mastering it right now. Pick one social media platform and focus on that one. Now, just recently, as you saw, Instagram came out with a whole new platform, or Meta, which is their parent company, came out with a whole new platform called Threads. Now, for me, as soon as I saw it, I knew one thing. It was something that I should avoid. And the reason why I should avoid it is because I didn't master any of the other platforms, right? My job as an entrepreneur, as a social media content creator, whatever you want to describe it, my job is to master one platform, right? Get really good at it, and then disperse my information to the other platforms. And once I get really good at that platform, then I can graduate and start practicing on the other platforms. But what happens is that our attention, it gets divvied up in so many different ways, that it's very hard for us to become experts in one field, okay? So think about it. Actually, I'll challenge you. Look at all the social media platforms that you have on your phone. You may have, if you're like me, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, right? YouTube, LinkedIn, right? WhatsApp, if you want to count that as a social media platform. Like, you have all of these, and now if you're adding Threads and you're trying to put content on there, it's going to be very hard if you're an introvert and you're just starting out. So the one that I picked, some may say maybe the hardest, and it's YouTube. And the reason why I love YouTube is because you can produce long form content, splice it up, and put it in different areas. So this one podcast, you will see it as a YouTube video. You'll see it as a post on Instagram, TikTok, but also I'm going to take the audio and I'm going to put it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and other platforms as well. So what I want you to do is to ignore all the noise, pick one platform, stick to it, and become really great at it. Study it. Notice what works on there, because certain audiences is going to be on, let's say, YouTube that may not be on TikTok. Certain audiences is going to be on LinkedIn that may not be on Twitter or Instagram, okay? And those are just examples. So pick one, focus on it, and as you get good at it, then you can start graduating to other platforms, okay? And while you're doing it, again, make sure you're taking that one piece of content and you're putting it in other places. I'll even give you another idea. If you're on Twitter, right? Let's say you're a real strong introvert and you're on Twitter or Threads. I would tell you to take an image, right? So take a screenshot of what you posted on Twitter, and then you could put that on Instagram. You could put that on TikTok, and you could put a series of those together to make it a video content form, okay? So that's a real easy and simple one. All right, this one I love. I absolutely love, and this is where a lot of confidence comes from. This is where a lot of my confidence comes from. So number 3, find what works for you, okay? So we talked about finding a platform that works for you, but when you're on that platform, be you. There's so many different examples of people that have decided to be themselves that has actually helped them in making large amounts of money, helping them to gain large followings, right? Like all these things. I think a great example will be Alex Hormozi. Right now, people are creating different platforms. People are hiring other people in order to create content just like his. There's even a saying when people are asking, what type of video do you want to make? They typically say, I want Hormozi style videos, right? That guy just got on the platform just like this, and he kept being himself repetitively over and over and over again. And you guys can do the exact same thing, right? And again, there's so many different examples, so many different people that you can try to mimic. And I'll actually tell you, find some of the common traits, if you will, that works. But once you do that, I want you to then improvise it. Make it your own, okay? So when it comes to, let's say, storytelling, let's say when it comes to your tone, your speed of pitch, where you set up and do your content, right? So do you do it in your car? Do you do it in your office? Do you do it outside, right? Like whatever it is, pick it, stick to it, And when you do it over and over and over again, guess what's going to happen? You're going to get better at it. And as you get better at it, people are then going to want to mimic you, just like Alex Hormozi in the Hormozi style videos, okay? So pick a lane, stick to it, and remember to be you. All right, next, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, but find a niche, right? Find a niche. Hey, I'm an introvert. I'm not going to try to argue it, debate it, or anything like that. Hey, I like talking to people. Yes, I do that as my job, as my business. But when I have time to myself, I absolutely love it. But here's the thing. There's one way to get me to talk and talk and talk until I'm like dried up at the mouth, if you will. And that's what I'm talking about, either business or mental health. When it comes to those two areas, you would think I was an extrovert. You would probably have to pay me to get me to shut up. And that's because I'm deeply, deeply passionate about these two things. And for you, it's going to be the exact same thing. If you pick one niche and you put content out that's focused on that one niche, trust me when I say you're going to fall in love with it and be so passionate about it that someone's going to have to pay to shut you up, right? Or better yet, they're going to pay you to make more of that content. So think about it, guys. Find something that you love, and then find a platform that you love. Focus on being you and watch how the content just gets easier and easier, and watch how you're able to dominate it. Also, don't be surprised when you find out that a lot of these content creators, they're actually introverts as well. They just do something that they love, and you can do the exact same thing. So the next one is a simple one, and this one's really great on Twitter, Instagram, and honestly, you can use it on any platform, but I'm just throwing those two out. So when you produce content on social media, do not think that every post has to be a video. There's a lot of great, helpful posts where I've seen where people are posting infographics, or maybe they're taking screenshots of what they posted on Twitter, or maybe they've taken famous quotes from famous celebrities and they're posting them as stories, as posts, as a collection of videos, if you will, for TikTok. There's so many different ways, and video is not the only way, right? Even right now, people are still getting the newspaper. Right now it's digital, but people are still subscribing to newspapers such as the New York Times, right? Or the newspaper that's in New York, not the New York Times, but it's another one that's more so focused on stocks and everything. I guess actually a portion of that is the New York Times as well, if you will. But nonetheless, every content that you post doesn't have to be a video. Find other ways to get your content out there that still can make an impact on people, and watch how you're still able to build a following. Also, blog posts are still really big, right? Blog posts is a great way to build a following, to make a lot of money, and actually you can get a lot of money through affiliates and actually promoting other people's brands. There's so many great places online right now where you can go and find the top 10 restaurants in Miami, top 10 restaurants in Chicago, like whatever it is. And these people are just blogging their ideas. And that is something that you can do right now as well. And the last point to help you crush social media as an introvert is to continue to listen to people's problems. Us as introverts, if you see us at a party like myself, if you ever see me at a party or a networking event, what you would notice is that I'm probably off in a corner with just a few people. Or maybe if I'm in a crowd of people, I'm probably sitting back just listening and watching. This is something that's really great, and it's actually one of the 48 laws of power, where you don't want to say too much because you want to sit there and just take in the information of what people are saying. And when people are speaking, as an introvert, what you want to listen for are people's pain points, people's desires, and then the obstacles that are keeping them from getting to these desires. This is something I've used time and time again, even to the point where sometimes I'll take out my phone and in the note section, I'll write out podcast ideas as I'm hearing them. Now, as me, I'm in the mental health space. I do a lot of the personal development. So that's really easy for me to do. But let's say you're in the traveling agency business or something like that, right? Let's say you want to do blog posts about that. I would tell you to listen to where people are going. Are people going to Greece more so than, let's say, Spain or Africa? Or are people going to Africa? And if so, is there a certain city, a certain country that you're noticing that they're going to a lot more, right? Are they going more to, let's say, Lagos, Nigeria, than they are Cape Town down in South Africa, if you will, right? There's so many things that you can listen to and inform you on what content to make. Us as introverts, even though we're sitting there and we're not saying anything, trust me when I say we're listening to everyone. We're noticing everything. We are the self-proclaimed people watchers of the world. So these are some great and easy ways that you as introverts can absolutely crush and dominate the social media space. As I mentioned, 1, you want to find your own niche. 2nd, Find a social media platform that works for you. Third, be yourself, right? That is something that I cannot stress enough. Just be yourself. Next, every time you post social media content, post it based on one person. Pick one avatar and pick content that's going to help that one person out instead of the masses. Next, every post that you make doesn't have to be a video. It can be pictures, it can be digital infographics, if you will. It can be screenshots of your post on Twitter. Like, there's so many different ways that you can produce content on social media that isn't a video, okay? Even blog posts. And I'll even say this. Let's say you want to do a podcast. You can do a podcast that doesn't have to show your face. You can just simply hit the record button on your phone, or through QuickTime, which is an app that I actually use to produce my content. You can just simply click new audio, if you will. That's all. So take these tips, apply them to your social media platforms, and watch how your media and your following actually starts to increase, okay? So my name is Coach Wells, and as I said, I have my son here with me. He's currently humming. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it, and I can't wait to see you guys for the next episode.